One. Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker. The day after Thanksgiving, Austin, what do you have to be thankful for?
Dude, there's so much to be thankful for. Casey, first off, it's great to be able to see you. I'm grateful for the show that we be able to have. I'm grateful for you being able to present me with this opportunity that we have. Obviously, family, very much thankful for, which I've had the time to be able to spend with. We were originally planning to do a show on Wednesday, but I got too invested in family. Got to binge watch Stranger Things, the new season, on Wednesday right after it came out.
Oh, how was it?
Oh, it's really good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I got completely distracted on that for the show that we were supposed to do on Wednesday. And so everything was good with that. Got to spend a lot of time with family. I'll tell you one thing that is going to be a little bit of a struggle for me today that I'm not super thankful for. I got like this weird cut on the inside of my mouth, but it's like right at the crest of where your lips open. And so if it looks like I try to mess with that a little bit, it's because, man, there's some sort of cut and stuff open. But I'm being trooper for you guys because you guys are absolutely the best. And I can't wait to talk a little bit more about Dodgers baseball.
Okay, tonight the other night we got into a big, long conversation about Ha-Seong Kim and Alex Freeland and Alex Call and Miguel Rojas, Kike Hernandez, some of the trade targets and our free agent targets, and all the position battles on the periphery. Mm-hmm. Okay, Austin, so first of all, we're going to get into the pitching battles tonight, and there is some rumors of the Tyler Glasnow trading and all that kind of stuff. Those are all just rumors. Well, I don't believe any of that kind of stuff, so we're going to stick with what we know and what we have right now based on what we could add to it based on what's coming back. So the first thing you have to do, kind of like when I was talking about figuring out the lineups, the first thing you have to do, I felt like, was figure out what you're going to do with Ha-Seong Kim. I feel like all the other dominoes are going to fall after that. I think the first thing you have to do when you're figuring out the pitching, what you're going to do with that is you have to figure out what is the average amount of innings that you're going to have to cover in a regular season, postseason being different. That's here nor there. But in a regular season, what's the average amount of innings you have to cover? How many innings do you have back to cover them with, which will tell you what you need to add to what you already have. I think that's where you have to start.
Okay, so that brings up a little bit of an interesting topic, because if you look at the overall scale of things in Major League Baseball, there pretty much is consistently a number of plate appearances around and a number of innings pitched that are needed to get through the course of the season. And when doing the math over the past couple of seasons, for innings pitched, it's going to be around 1,450 innings pitched that you're looking to get for your organization. It's somewhere around that range what the Dodgers are getting.
How many?
1,450 innings pitched. Wow. So 1,450 is what you are looking for to get through the course of the regular season. And this can come from a lot of different guys. This can come from your star players, your starters that you get. This can come from very key relievers, or as we've seen, guys come up from the minor leagues, as well as guys that come pitch a couple of innings and then get designated for assignment pretty quickly. There's a lot of innings that have to be covered, and there's not a ton of roster spots that are going to be completely open for guys on this roster. Let's actually go through the roster really quick as far as guys that are going to have to be on the big league roster right now, or guys that are already going to be on the big league roster. So this is how I see the roster right now. And then we can talk about how to fit guys in the mix going forward. So the roster as currently constructed, and this is going to include Emmett Sheehan, only because I think probably, Casey, you would agree, if Emmett Sheehan is healthy, he's going to be on the Los Angeles Dodgers based on what he did last year. Under that assumption, this is who the Dodgers currently have on their roster that are going to be part of the mix. For starters, it includes Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani, Emmett Sheehan, Blake Snell, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And then out of the bullpen, guys that do not have any minor league options and are currently healthy are Anthony Banda, Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan, and Alex Vesia. I guess a good question, and it's not a question that I don't think either of us know, is what's going to be Brusdar Graterol's state? I'm just under the assumption that he's not going to be healthy to start the season. Could very well be wrong, and he could be healthy to start the season. If he is healthy, he has to be on the big league roster. But assuming he is not healthy to start the season, that leaves you with 5 different openings on your roster. And that does not include Roki Sasaki in the big league mix. That does not include some of the guys that were key contributors like a Jack Dreyer. It does not include a Gavin Stone or a River Ryan or Justin Robleski or Ben Casparius or any of the external additions that the Dodgers have. With the roster as currently constructed, with Brusdar Graterol on the injured list, you currently have 5 potential openings on your roster given guys who have to be at the major league level.
You're talking about 26 man, not 40.
I'm talking about the 26-man roster. Yes. That is correct. 26-man roster. There are 5 different openings on the big league roster for the Dodgers to be able to come through, and that includes Roki Sasaki, includes Jack Dreyer, it includes free agent right-handed relievers that the Dodgers are likely to bring in. That's with the math of where things work out. You have 1,450 innings that you have to fill in. What do the Dodgers do about it?
So you have 5 positions left for your 26-man roster. Of course, you don't have to do any of this until after spring training, so this is way, way, way premature. But hey, what else do we have to do the day after Thanksgiving, right? I mean, There's really not a whole lot else to talk about. And these are the kinds of things that the questions you have to answer to figure out what your strategy is going to be and how aggressive you're going to be in the offseason. So 5 positions for, let's go over them, and let me actually slide this over, and then let me change this to here. Austin, you can see it, and we can go over this. So 5 positions for all these guys. So who are let's go over the 13 that are guarantees for you.
All right. Well, we'll go over the technically 9, but it's really Shohei Ohtani as the bonus pitcher. You count him as the 14th pitcher that you have. So this is going to be 8 that are guaranteed right now. Tyler Glass now. Assuming that he's part of the Los Angeles Dodgers, he's on the major league roster.
There's one.
Emmett Sheehan. I see him as a lock because of what he did this past year. 2.82 ERA during his innings, during his starts. He's absolutely a lock.
As long as he's not traded, he's a lock. Yeah.
Yes, as long as he's part of the organization, which again, this is under the assumption that these guys are part of the organization right now.
Yeah.
Blake Snell, absolute lock. Yoshi Yamamoto, absolute lock. Anthony Banda cannot be optioned down to the minor leagues, which means if he is a Los Angeles Dodger, which he has remained a Dodger to this point in spring training, there actually might be a fascinating conversation about him and Justin Robleski that we'll get into in a little bit. Anthony Banda is a lock for the roster. Tanner Scott, as much as Dodgers fans were disappointed in his output this past season, he signed a 4-year, $72 million deal and has a past history of success out of the bullpen. He can't be optioned to the minor leagues. He is a lock onto this roster. Blake Treinen signed a 2-year deal. He's a lock on the roster. And Alex Vesia is out of minor league options. He is entering his last year of arbitration. He is a lock onto this roster. And if Brusdar Graterol or Brock Stewart are healthy, I'm not anticipating Brock Stewart to be healthy at all to start the season. He's not going to be ready. Brusdar Graterol is very much a question mark. If he is healthy, he takes up one of the roster spots because he cannot be optioned down to the minor leagues.
Who's that?
Brusdar Graterol.
Okay, yeah. Okay. All right, so 5 spots. I'm actually typing this in. I'm going to make this bigger. 5 spots, and then how many guys are vying for those that are on your 40-man right now?
All right, so these are going to be the guys that you can option down to the minor league.
I'm going to type them in as we see them. This is going to kind of be goofy. But
we're going to do the starters really quick. Guys that are starters or can be considered starters. And these are going to be the options that you can go ahead and go and choose from, not including any external options. So the optionable starters are going to be Landon Knack is going to be the first one. And these are going to be in alphabetical order. So we have Landon Knack. We have River Ryan, who's going to be coming back from injury. Yes. We have, I have him in the starter. This actually could be a fascinating conversation. Roki Sasaki as part of the starters mix. You also have Gavin Stone, part of this mix as well. And then the last one that's in the starter category, or at least starter category right now, is Justin Robleski. And so those are 5 different starters. You would probably anticipate the Dodgers to go to more of a 6-man rotation only because Ohtani is part of the mix and he can be that 6th man. And so you'd probably be looking for one of those pieces to be able to add to a 6-man type of rotation. But those are going to be the 5 guys that can be optioned down to the minor leagues this upcoming season that are going to be part of the mix fighting for one of the roster spots. So the relievers that we have, reliever number 1 in alphabetical order is going to be Ben Casparius.
Oh, hold on. I just lost it. All right, here we go.
Yeah, there you go. Ben Casparius can be optioned down to the minor leagues. Similar, Jack Dreyer is going to be the next guy that we're going to be talking about. Paul Gervais is going to be part of this mix as well. Don't forget about him. Came over from the trade with Tampa Bay and Cincinnati. Edgardo Henriquez, part of the mix. So we have Casparius, Dreyer, Gervais, Henriquez. We have Kyle Hurt coming back from injury. Will Klein, World Series legend, World Series hero.
Yeah, wow.
He is part of this mix.
Wow.
Just recently added to the Dodgers 40-man roster, Ronan Kopp is part of this mix. And then still on the 40-man roster is Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller is going to be part of this mix as well. And from those options, if there is no external options, and if Brusdar Graterol is not ready to start the season, which again, I have no idea if he's going to be ready to start the season or not. The Dodgers have the ability to pick up to 5 of these guys. But in reality, I think the expectation is that number of which the Dodgers can choose from is going to drop to at a minimum 4. Because I think the expectation just from everybody is they're going to add at least one high leverage right-handed reliever, which means that you're cutting down to probably 4 is what you're looking at the most. If I had to guess, my guess is it would probably be closer to 3 would probably be some of the options, just because I think the Dodgers are likely to try to add 2 different relievers or a reliever and potentially some sort of innings eater type starter to be going forward. So that's going to be part of the mix that we're going to be talking about with the Dodgers, but you're looking at 3 or 4 of these guys to be able to add into the mix and then be able to option these guys up and down.
There they are. Sasaki, Robo, Dreyer.
Okay, why those guys?
Well, Sasaki because he was your go-to for your closer, and he's incredibly talented, and it seemed like he figured it out. Robo for the exact same reason, just absolutely showed up in the biggest moments. There's no argument to make to send Justin Robleski back to the minor leagues. He proved that he can do it not just at the major league level, but at the biggest stage. Roki Sasaki proved that same thing. And Jack Dreyer was an absolute rock throughout the entire season. He was one of your best relief pitchers throughout the entire season all year long. There's just no way you can justify sending any 3 of those guys down. So that leaves off Landon Knack, River Ryan, Gavin Stone, Ben Casparius, Paul Gervais, Edgardo Henriquez, Kyle Hurt, Will Klein, Ronan Kopp, Bobby Miller, if you want to go get 2 bullpen arms. So
that's a lot of talent to send down to the minor leagues. We're going to dive in.
That doesn't mean they won't send down Robo or Dreyer at some point. They do have options, or even maybe a Sasaki. But I think that's where it would start. If you went and got 2 relievers, I think it would be those 2 relievers plus these 3 guys. And then what you're seeing there that's not highlighted would be the guys that are left off of the 26-man roster. So like we always say, Austin, there is a cost monetarily in money, which is no big deal to the Dodgers. The big cost for the Dodgers is an opportunity cost at roster spots. So for every guy that you go add, you are leaving out innings for a River Ryan, a Gavin Stone, and a Edgardo Henriquez, a Ben Casparius, a Will Klein, a Ronan Kopp, a Kyle Hurt, a Bobby Miller, these kind of guys. That's the cost of doing business in the free agency and trade market. Not saying the Dodgers shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that's the actual cost.
All right, we're going to dive into each one of these 3 guys in just a second, but I think first we got to go to the super chat.
I'm sorry, Austin.
Yeah.
Austin. We have a $50 super chat.
That's what I was going to.
Holy jeez. Yeah. Were you getting to that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to turn.
Okay, go ahead, Austin. I'm sorry.
No, I'll let you go ahead and read that off. We'll get to some of the other guys in just a second. But CNAV, before we get to this, I can't thank you enough for not just this, but for the support that you have for this channel. Go ahead, Case.
Holy smokes. Christopher Navarro, thank you so much. I'm thankful for the Walters ownership of the Dodgers, the intelligence in the chat at Dodgers Daily /Dodgers Dogs, and to Casey and Austin for the incredible channel. There's nothing like it anywhere. I am so humbled by you. Incredible Dodgers Dogs out there, Austin. Is it not amazing? Now, we're not the biggest, and I think there's a reason why we're not the biggest, and that's because we keep it to where it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to go any further than that. But anyways, the chat here, I totally agree, is just absolutely awesome. It is. I just look so forward to talking to all of you wonderful Dodgers dogs. And whenever we get that back, that in return, I can't tell you how good that feels, how much it means, because we do work very hard, and it is a hell of a lot of fun. And so to all of you Dodgers dogs out there, especially Christopher Navarro, thank you so much from the bottom of our heart. We could not appreciate you any more than we do.
Yeah, it is. As you mentioned, it's incredibly humbling to be able to get any sort of support for this hobby that we enjoyed being able to do. But we work so hard because we love the game of baseball. We love the Los Angeles Dodgers. We love the system and want to be able to find a way to be able to spread information about the system. Because a lot of guys that we've been talking about on this list, I think they deserve to get a lot of shine, a lot of credit for what they have, and all the different interviews that you see. Casey puts a ton of time and work into that for the time that we get to spend being able to argue different points back and forth like we did on our last show. Super fun. And then CNAV is right in it about as much as anybody with this, and is always queuing up all sorts of different things, whether for me, I know specifically different comparisons between players looking at statistical analysis. I believe in the comments of the last video, he was talking about doing some sort of defensive numbers for some of the guys on the roster, and I was able to go into a little bit of depth, which that's a topic for a different show at a different time, because that's a little bit more in depth to be able to dive into that. But he is very much part of this channel, just like each one of you guys who are able to join in, tune in. It makes this show so much fun to be able to do from somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience in some type of shows besides this. So I can't thank you enough. I'm grateful for the Los Angeles Dodgers and grateful for you guys and this platform just to be able to talk baseball.
No doubt. Mr. Classic, Chuck Huddleston, Craig Osterberg, all you Bruce Davis, all you wonderful Elishiva Jones, man, it's just an absolutely awesome chat every single time that we get to come on here. So let me put this back up on the board. One more last thank you. Thank you so much. So you said that like you don't necessarily agree with me. These three are automatic.
I'm not saying that specifically, but what I want to do is I want to dive into each one of these guys specifically and be able to talk about what we actually envision for each one of these guys. And let's go ahead and start out with Roki Sasaki. So Roki Sasaki, what he did last year is really unique because the first half of the season, he very much was a starter. I think that is the vision for what the Dodgers had with Roki Sasaki. And let's be honest, he was not good as a starter, or at least during the first part of his tenure with the Dodgers. The velo wasn't quite there. The hitters were hitting him really well. If you look at all the underlying expected numbers as well as the actual results, they were not good. It wasn't until very end of the season where the velo started to click in, and it was out of the bullpen in which he had a ton of success. So going forward with Roki Sasaki, understanding that the Dodgers brought him in to be a starter, is next year, 2026, is Roki Sasaki ready to jump right back into the starting rotation with the failsafe being that he can go back to the bullpen? Do you see him as being that sixth starter behind a Glasnow, Ohtani, Sheehan, Snell, Yamamoto in no specific order? Do you see Roki Sasaki being that sixth starter for the Dodgers? Or do they love what they had out of the bullpen and want to use him and high leverage out of the bullpen?
I do, but I'll say this. I think Sasaki, he signed with the Dodgers for a reason. I don't think he will sign off on being a bullpen arm. I think he's going to push to be a starter. Now, obviously in a playoff setting, in a short-term setting like last year, it's not the players' It's not, boy, look at that right turn. It's not the player's call at all in any situation. But over 162, and you're talking about the long haul of a young pitcher's career, I think Sasaki, seeing that he signed as a now, like Landon Knack, Bobby Miller, those guys, I mean, they don't have any other choice. They were drafted by the Dodgers. They're not free agents yet. So it's, hey, either, it's too bad, right? I mean, but with Roki Sasaki, he made a choice to choose the Dodgers over everybody else, right? And he's going to be a free agent here before too long. And I think he is going to have the ability to have a say in what his future role is going to be more than any of the other guys that we're going to talk about tonight. And I don't think, boy, look at that splitter. That's just nasty. I don't think he would sign off on being a reliever for the remainder of his time as a Dodger, which is basically what he'd be saying if he moves to relief this year.
Yeah, that would be a massive statement that he is moving there more full time. So just to let you guys know, Roki Sasaki in the NPB, when he was over in Japan, he played 64 games in the NPB. You want to know how many games he came out of relief in those games? He came out of relief in 0. He was a starter through and through. So when the Dodgers brought him over, that was the anticipation. I think last year was more of a we need help. So we need to get help as best as we possibly can. And Roki Sasaki was able to fill in that role. Now, there's still more things that Roki has to do in order to be a more successful starter, namely that third pitch. He needs to be able to find something that's going to be more effective as a third pitch. He's got that fastball, which hopefully he's able to maintain some sort of velo. That's going to be a cause for the Dodgers to be able to figure out what exactly to do. What did they figure out towards the end of 2025? And actually, if you want a little bit of that conversation, go check out the interview Casey did with pitching coach Dave Anderson, Oklahoma City. That was a great interview, insight into Roki Sasaki. They got to figure out how to maintain his velo. His splitter absolutely is phenomenal, but how do you add something else to be able to go through orders multiple times, go through an order at least 2 times through is going to be the trick with Roki to try to figure that out. I would anticipate, especially because they signed him as more of an international free agent. They are going to have 5 more years of control with Roki, but I think with some of the agreement and with some of the just coming over early from Japan and giving the Dodgers really was a favor for the Dodgers to be able to get Roki when they got him at the league minimum. I think he is going to be able to at least somewhat have some influence, and especially with the expectation, I think the expectation for the Dodgers was you're going to be the starter. So I anticipate him going into 2026 to be a starter. And then if things don't work out again, I think they can transition Roki knowing that he can be a dominant late inning bullpen weapon and potentially during the playoffs next year, because if you're looking at the playoffs and all your starters are healthy, I would assume that Roki Sasaki isn't part of the mix only because of how good Otani, Glasnow, and Yamamoto are. But we'll see how they all do. And even if Roki Sasaki is not the best in the mix, you know how you can turn him into a weapon. Just put him in the exact same role that he had this past year, and he was really good. So I would anticipate him being a starter this upcoming season, and it would probably be that 6th starter for the Dodgers in their rotation.
Who else would it be the 6th starter? That's not replacing Emmett Sheehan, right?
Yeah, it would not be replacing Emmett Sheehan. It would be if you, and this becomes a little bit of a question of, and we can address this a little bit later on how you go about working your innings and getting some of your innings pitched, and how do you make sure that all of your starters are healthy throughout the course of the regular season. But guys that are coming back from injury, like guys like River Ryan and Gavin Stone, depending on how healthy they are, which that is a question mark of how healthy they actually are, I think are going to play some sort of factor. Let's not forget how good both of those guys were when they were healthy and how much of a turnaround Gavin Stone had during the 2024 season. They're both really good, but if we're talking about the starting pitching talent that is on the Dodgers, holy cow, you can't beat that across Major League Baseball, which means that it is incredibly difficult for any of these guys to be able to fit into the mix. And I think with Roki Sasaki, I think they still absolutely are in love with the upside that he has. There's just a few minor tweaks that can turn him from being a starter into being a really, really good starter.
Okay, so let's go over it because I have a terrible memory. I'm getting old. All right, so your 5 starters would be Tyler Glasnow,
Shohei Ohtani.
So hold on, I got to go in order here. One second.
Yep.
Hey, Tyler Glasnow, Emmett Sheehan, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and now I'm not in order again.
Yep. Blake Snell,
Shohei Ohtani.
That's 5.
That's 5?
Yep.
Okay, and then your 6th would be Emmett Sheehan. 7th would be Roki Sasaki.
No, Sheehan is already part of that mix. 6th would be Roki Sasaki.
Would be Roki Sasaki, yeah.
Yes.
I think that's good. Especially, how many innings do you have to cover? You said like 1,400 something?
Yeah. This is the entire pitching staff. The entire pitching staff is going to have to cover 1,450 innings, 1,450 innings.
Okay, so let's map this out. Let's do the math on this. How many innings would you like to see?
We'll get to this to the end. We're going to get to this to the end. I will lead us into that part.
Okay,
let's get to some of the other pitchers that are a part of the staff, because you had mentioned Roki Sasaki, but that's not the only weapons that we have. And with the starting pitching mix, there also is Justin Robleski. How do the Dodgers utilize Robo going forward?
How do I utilize Robo?
Yeah, how do you utilize Robo?
I utilize Robo, well, based on what the Dodgers have. I would love for Robo to be a starter. So that's a little bit of a tricky question because you're asking me how I would like to use him versus what reality is, and that is that the Dodgers are so loaded, he's not going to get to be used in the way that I think is perfect for him. So I use him in that mid-relief role, the back of the end of the game role, the high leverage roles, whatever those. So you know how we always talk about you have a closer, but you don't necessarily the three biggest outs of the game aren't always the last three outs. So if you have a closer, okay, you need also another guy that you trust equally to get the biggest three outs in the middle of the game. There are times to where there are three big outs in an inning, like in the sixth, and then also another big, huge three outs in the ninth because that same spot of the lineup rolls around again, right? So the three biggest outs in the middle of a game, plus maybe another inning or two if you need, that's how I use Justin Robleski. Basically, your middle, let me kind of use a weird term here.
Yeah.
Your middle inning relief closer. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you're in the sixth or seventh inning and you're playing the Philadelphia Phillies and you have Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber within a three batter span. And you need to find a way to be able to get those guys out because it's the third time they're going through the order, or maybe the fourth time that they're going through that specific part of the order. And you want to get those two guys out. You have any weapon like Justin Robleski to be able to attack those guys. I think it's going to be something that's going to be incredibly important. So as you had mentioned, Robo has been a starter throughout the course of the minor leagues, but the starting rotation is absolutely stacked. I think one area in which Robo could be of real importance to this Dodgers, and this is something we talked about with the Dodgers potentially implementing any sort of six-man rotation, you need guys that can pitch with length out of the bullpen. And Justin Robleski can pitch with some length. I'm talking about a guy that can go, he could go 4, 5, 6 innings. He could be that piggyback type of guy, but I think utilize him perhaps in a role that can go around 2 innings when he's out there and really bridge the gap from the starter to the end of the game. I think that type of role is going to be incredibly important for him. Now, when we're talking about Justin Robleski, he can take on a higher inning total than most of these other guys. Looking at the past 3 seasons with both his minor league, his major league, and his postseason innings pitched, I looked at all those combined. You're talking about 102, 132, and 123. He can take on a pretty big workload. Now, it's probably going to be lesser if he's coming out more in relief, only because if you're throwing 100% as you would be, or maxing out each and every single pitch as you do out of relief, I think that's going to have a little bit more wear and tear on your arm, but he can take a little bit of a bigger workload. The tricky thing with Justin Robleski, and this is something that the Dodgers have to keep an eye out for, especially when talking about a conversation about somebody like an Anthony Banda. Justin Robleski has only one more minor league option year, which means if you want to utilize him how you have been, have him down at Oklahoma City a little bit, bring him back up to the big leagues, you can just do that in 2026. This is the last year that you can do that. Yeah. Otherwise, he has to be on your major league or club, major league organization going forward. Do they want to utilize that minor league option earlier? Do they like a Justin Robleski more than they like somebody like an Anthony Banda who does not have any minor league options? This could perhaps be a little bit more of a fascinating battle out of spring training, only because if the Dodgers don't want to utilize that option quite yet from Robo, it's possible that they can use this as a little bit more of a competition between the two. And if it's even close between Robo and an Anthony Banda coming out of the bullpen, perhaps they turn to a little bit more of a Justin Robleski as the answer to the bullpen and have him take over a little bit more of that Banda role. Not saying that that's going to happen because there's likely to be injuries to the pitchers and you want to keep as many good arms as possible, but that is something to keep an eye out for Robo.
God, watching these videos makes me wish I was at Bricktown Ballpark right now. Oh man, warm night, watching some base. But anyways, the reason I think Justin Robleski is better than Anthony Banda. I'm going to say that point blank. You can push back, and I probably give me numbers that would maybe disprove that. But I don't think you can compare numbers with Robleski with guys like that right now because there's Justin Dean, my boy right there. Who picked him up? Was it the Giants? I think.
Yeah, it was San Francisco. Yeah.
So my problem with that is that the role hasn't been consistent, right? Anthony Banda is known with his role, so statistics can be a little bit deceiving whenever roles have changed quite a bit. So I think Justin Robleski is better than Anthony Banda. I think to start the season out with and throughout the regular season, Anthony Banda would get the nod over Justin Robleski, and that is because Justin Robleski can be sent down to the minor leagues and Anthony Banda can't. I think it's just math.
Okay, so then what you would be okay with,
you can have both of them in the system if you do that. That's what I'm saying. If you choose Robleski over Banda, you have to you can only have one of them in your system. If you choose Banda over Robleski, then you can have both of them in your system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, you can have both of them in the system if you choose Banda or Robleski. So the question and the cost benefit analysis.
Well, how can you choose How can you choose Robo over Banda and keep Banda in your system?
No, I'm saying you choose Banda over Robo, then you get to keep both of them in your system.
Yes. Other way around, then you got to get rid of Banda.
Yes, and that becomes a cost benefit analysis on Justin Robleski's last option year. Are they already planning on utilizing that this upcoming year and saying, yeah, we're going to utilize that, and then he's going to be part of the big league club 2027 and beyond for the Dodgers? Or is it something to where we're not sure if we want to utilize the option year quite yet, so we want to hold on to that? We don't think there's going to be much of a difference between Robo's output and Anthony Banda's output, and so we want to use the guy with the option and hold on to that, perhaps use it sometime in 2026, but not 100% sure quite yet, and keep a little bit of future roster flexibility.
Yes.
That's going to be the decisions for the Dodgers with Justin Robleski. He certainly is talented enough to be in the big leagues full time, and very well could take over a role like an Anthony Banda, which, credit to Anthony Banda, he is phenomenal at getting left-handed hitters out. Absolutely phenomenal at getting lefties out. The question is, will that continue to go forward, and how much of a gap is there between the two, and how much depth do you need with each one of these guys, because they don't have an extensive amount of left-handed reliever depth, although they do have Jack Dreyer that is part of the mix. So let's talk a little bit about the Maytag Jack Dreyer in this role.
Before you do, let me say this, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Another aspect of Anthony Banda. First of all, if you choose Robo after Banda, Banda cannot go down to the minor leagues because he doesn't have minor league options.
Yes.
So at that point, you have to DFA Anthony Banda. Here's my problem with that, and I think here's the problem the Dodgers are going to see with that. One of the things that we brag on the Dodgers so much about, Austin, is that on the periphery, they value, if you will, like Brock Stewart. Incredible value on the contract. Max Muncy, incredible value on the contract. So those guys, Evan Phillips for a long time, incredible value. So on the periphery, because they pay all these guys so much money, like Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, they have this length, they are extremely stingy in terms of the best value for their fringe guys.
Yeah.
And I know he gave up the Grand Slams. I know he's, like we have a comment here, he's not a dynasty-level pitcher. I agree with all of those comments. And that's not a slight to Anthony Banda. That's a compliment to the Dodgers. I understand all that, but he's also not the guy that's built the dynasty. He's the guy that you have to bring in on a valued contract. And I will say this, for what he's given the Dodgers, I would say he's one of the most valuable contracts in Major League Baseball at what, $2 million? He's been $1 million until this year. I think he signed this year for $2 million. He's well worth $2 million. Would you agree with that?
He's in his arbitration years, and the Dodgers are getting their value for Anthony Banda. Absolutely, absolutely.
So the value aspect of it, I think, is in Banda's favor because he's value on the fringe, and that's exactly the Dodgers game there. Of course, Robo would be too because he's younger, but I think that adds a kink into just not getting rid of Banda, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't think this is going to be a decision that the Dodgers are going to do initially, because you very well can see a situation where, and this is the difficult part of mapping out these innings, is because pitchers break pretty easily, or at least they get injured at a much higher rate than position players do. And so the predictability of that is so difficult. So I think I don't anticipate this being, even during the course of before spring training aspect, that the Dodgers make a decision off of.
Right,
I think this could be a decision that comes down late in spring training. And if all of the arms, they're looking like a lot of these guys are going to be healthy, and then it comes down to a decision of a Justin Robleski or Anthony Banda. in that specific scenario, I think you could see, because of the value that Anthony Banda still provides, and because he can be an absolute weapon for a lot
value
of
based
teams,
on how much he makes.
Not just based off of how much he makes, but also the fact that he can dominate against left-handed hitters. I think a lot of teams are going to see how much he makes. They're going to see the value that he's able to provide and the specific role that he can go out and get. And especially with other teams that are likely to be dealing with injuries at the pitching ranks, I think you could see the Dodgers potentially, not saying that they will, but potentially, if they have more arms that are healthy at that time and don't want to utilize Robo's option year, look at the end of spring training for some sort of trade with Anthony Banda, as opposed to just go out releasing him and getting some sort of value, because he has meant a ton to this organization. And this is not meant to downplay any of the benefit that Anthony Banda has provided. He's been absolute weapon and a big piece to the Los Angeles Dodgers. But as you had mentioned, the inflexibility that he provides on the pitching side, as well as some of these younger guys being able to come in and not wasting years that you have upon these younger guys, especially with some of the relief arms going to be free agents over the course of the next couple of years. It's important to capitalize on value that you have coming up through your system as well. And Robo is so incredibly talented.
Yeah, and as we said, hepatitis. This is why we always say Dodgers Dog, incredible chat room, no doubt. Banda, 65 innings pitched, 3.18 ERA, and he made $1 million last year. I think that was his. I mean, that's one of the most valuable when you talk about how much you're paying versus what you got. You got Anthony Banda gave the Dodgers as much value basically as any pitcher relief. Now, that's not to say he was the best relief pitcher, but the best relief pitcher based on the salary he was making of anybody in the game. So that makes it but it also makes him very tradable, as you said there. And we also have a comment about Blake Trinan. I get it. People are I don't know how anybody, and this includes Andrew Friedman, couldn't be worried about whether Blake Trinan is just done, right? I mean, there comes a point to where there's two things that a player never gets away from, right? And one of them is talent level. I mean, sometimes the talent level just catches up to you. We see that in the minor leagues all the time. And two, time. So you never know when that time is. But I'll say this, it's like Kendall George. It's why he's going to continue to get chances. When you have a carrying tool like Blake Trinan has, which is that sweeper, that carrying tool makes it much more difficult for people just to move on from you. So like Kendall George, even though he doesn't hit the ball that well, that kind of thing, the carrying tool of his speed makes it very difficult for any organization to say, we're done with this guy, that kind of deal. So when you have that type of carrying tool like the sweeper of Blake Trinan, and then the carrying tool of all the great experience he has, it's just not as easy as to say, he wasn't very good last year, we're moving on. It's a really hard thing to do, right?
Relievers are incredibly inconsistent as well, so maybe we get a better version of Blake Trinan this upcoming year, which would probably be my expectation. Is we're going to see a little bit better of version of Blake Trinan. He's starting to get older, and this is some of the concern that you have with signing guys just based off of some great thing that they were able to do, especially if there potentially could be some warning signs or some age considerations going forward. You got to make as smart of decisions as you possibly can. Blake Trinan, I'm going to be patient with him, and we're going to see what we get in 2026. He's going to be part of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But
plus, he'll be injured for about 4 months of it.
He very well could be,
and then that'll open up the space that you need for all these young guys.
We'll get to his
and that's
innings.
That's a good part of it too.
We'll get up to some of his innings pitched in just a little bit. Well, don't worry, we'll get there. But let's talk a little bit about the other guy that you highlighted, Jack Dreyer. What are our expectations for the Maytag Jack Dreyer, who had a breakout, phenomenal, extraordinary? You can't put enough adjectives for how Jack Dreyer pitched for the 2025 Los Angeles Dodgers. What is his role going to be, and how much can he take on for the 2026 Los Angeles Dodgers?
You tell me.
Okay, so this is going to be a big question mark for as far as him, because the main thing that I'm going to point to, and this is something that I pointed out a little bit, but we're going to go through some of the actual innings totals that Jack Dreyer has pitched, because this is a little bit of a question mark for me, because Jack Dreyer, we're going to go through 2023 to 2025 major league, minor league, and postseason innings pitched, just to show you how much of an uptick he had this past season. So 2023, he pitched 55 innings pitched at the minor league level. I actually don't think that includes postseason minor league appearances, but around 55 innings pitched. 2024, 57 innings pitched. Just a short uptick from the year prior. This past season, 80 and a third innings pitched. Jack Dreyer pitched more than he had the past couple of seasons, and it was by about 20 to 25 innings pitched. It was a pretty big uptake for Jack Dreyer. So the question remains is, does that uptick limit some of his effectiveness during some of this upcoming season? Was that too dramatic of an uptick because they needed him to take on that burden? In which, total credit to Jack Dreyer, he absolutely excelled and dominated out of the bullpen. And when healthy, he, based on what he did this past season, deserves to be at the major league level. 2025 statistics, 2.95 ERA, a 2.63 expected ERA. Jack Dreyer was phenomenal when he was on the mound. The biggest question for me has nothing to do with Jack Dreyer and his performance in particular, because when he is healthy, he went out there and showed that he can be extraordinarily effective and dominant on the mound. The question remains, with the uptick in innings that he had last year, how much are they going to have to manage his innings in 2026, if at all, because he had a 23 to 25 innings pitched jump from the previous season?
You know why one of the, of course, obviously with the last name Dreyer, let me flip this back over. Yeah, I did. Okay, with the last name Dreyer, that obviously matches with Maytag, right? Mm-hmm. But you want to know the real reason why his nickname is Maytag?
Why is that?
Maytags are reliable. And if you were to say one thing about Jack Dreyer last year, what if you could use one word to describe Jack Dreyer's performance last year, what would you say?
Oh, he's reliable.
Absolutely. And that is literally why he has the nickname of Maytag. I keep hitting my microphone with my chair. Sorry about that if I'm getting a thump. I will try to solve that. Okay, so the Maytag, he has options, and I don't think he used any minor league options last year, did he?
No, they did not. He has all three remaining.
Yeah, that's so. Another thing you could do. Here's another thing you could do. If just playing the math game, Austin, and this is service time manipulation. It's I don't like it. I'm going to say that, but that doesn't mean that I'm also saying that the Dodgers aren't doing the right thing, that Andrew Friedman's not doing the right thing. Whatever the rules are, you have to play by the rules as best you can to put your organization in the best position possible to win a World Series. So another thing that the Dodgers could do to play that math game, since they didn't use any minor league options for for Jack Dreyer last year, is that they could do that same thing for Justin Robleski this year, keep him in the major leagues the entire season, and then send Jack Dreyer down to use his options this year, just so now both Jack Dreyer and Justin Robleski are keeping at least one of their option years available. So that math game between those two is something I could definitely see the Dodgers playing.
I could see the Dodgers definitely playing that, especially early in the season, because with Jack Dreyer, what you want him to be, because he's reliable, because he's somebody that you know you can go out there and realistically expect him to go out and put out a good performance. You want that later in the season. You want that to potentially be an option for you to turn to in October. It wasn't something that the Dodgers overutilized too much this past postseason. I think in part because of the amount of workload that he had to take throughout the course of the regular season. What is one way that you can go ahead and backload some of the innings pitched? Perhaps utilize him and give him not quite as many innings at the minor league level in Oklahoma City early in the season. Because if he's on the major league club, and anybody who's at the major league club has to go out there and take on a workload at the major league level, because they're going to have to utilize these guys as much as they possibly can, or utilize these guys to where the Dodgers can go out and win games, which means if Jack Dreyer starts the season on the major league roster, he's going to be utilized early and probably pretty heavily, meaning that he potentially might not be as effective or might not be as available later in the season. So if they're already planning to utilize some sort of up-down game potentially with Jack Dreyer, he's one of the guys they absolutely could go ahead and utilize that with. I think you could see that probably earlier in the season just because they could be worried about his innings pitch total. And instead of having him pitch 80 innings this upcoming season, perhaps get it down closer to around 55 to 60 innings pitched, much more in line with what he had the past couple of seasons, just to not overuse the arm that Jack Dreyer has because his arm is so special.
Yeah, that's the exact point. Number one, he threw a lot last year, so let's see if we can kind of reduce that, make sure the overall toll doesn't get too big for him. Remember, he went from 2019 until 2024 and did not pitch at all because of injuries.
Yeah.
Right? So he has an injury past. So number one, he pitched a lot. We need to be careful with him this year because he did pitch a lot last year. So that could limit. And it's easier to manage it at the minor leagues because it's not so much wins and losses, right? And so you might send him down to the minor leagues just to manage the workload that he's had in the last year and a half. And then also because he has 3 option years left, you would not worry about at all using one of those option years this year. You would worry a lot more about using Justin Robleski's option year because he would be out of them. So I could easily see them for those very 2 reasons, workload and the fact that he still has 3 option years left. So they're not worried about burning one with Dreyer, and they would be with Robleski. Because of those 2 reasons, I could easily see Jack Dreyer spending maybe a good chunk of time in Oklahoma City this year, even though he was so reliable at the major league level. And I know that sounds so weird to say because Dodgers fans are going to be like, why would you do that? He's reliable. I just think the math game and just kind of the service manipulation time of the game could set up to where that happens.
You know what that very well could do? That can open up a spot right back for Anthony Banda to be able to fit into the mix. Absolutely. And then you could utilize him early and then evaluate where things are halfway through the season, part of the way through the season. And if you want to reincorporate Jack Dreyer part of the mix, who will play a role for Los Angeles upcoming season, it is just about what do you do to be able to protect him as best as you possibly can. I think you could potentially see this as a very realistic path going forward for both Anthony Banda, for Jack Dreyer, and for Justin Robleski. One thing that remains a little bit of a question mark, and this could be we don't really have any of the answers just because we don't know the status of where each one of these guys are. How do they utilize River Ryan and Gavin Stone this upcoming season? Both of these guys coming back from injury, both immensely talented and had started to make some sort of name for themselves at the major league level before they got injured. What exactly is their role, and how much can they get these guys incorporated in the mix?
This is River Ryan you're seeing here, and my guess on that, Austin, would be nobody can give that answer.
Yeah.
Because I think they are the fill-ins for whenever somebody goes on a phantom IL because you're trying to manage workload. I think that's their role.
I think that is probably their role. And this could be something where, especially if we talk about the starting pitching staff with Yamamoto. Yamamoto pitched a ton during the postseason this past year and pitched a lot during the course of the regular season. He took on a very heavy workload. If you want to slow play him a little bit, fitting somebody like a River Ryan or a Gavin Stone into the mix could very well be in the play for both of them. And this could be something where it's not just Yoshi Yamamoto. It could be a lot of different guys with the starting pitching. I don't think the expectation going into the season is you're going to see 200 innings pitched for Tyler Glasnow, for Blake Snell, for Yoshi Yamamoto, for Shohei Ohtani, or for all of these different guys. The Dodgers are going to do what they're going to try to do what they can to try to make sure their starters are healthy going into October, because I think that was the main reason why the Dodgers were able to go on and be as successful as they were during the course of the postseason, was because their starters were healthy. How do you do that? Try to do what you can to perhaps limit some of the innings during the regular season, which does not come from summoning the Tyler Glasnow, for Yamamoto, for Blake Snell down to the minor leagues. You can't, but there could be some openings that pop up somehow over the course of the regular season where you're going to see Gavin Stone and River Ryan especially play massive roles, being able to fill in innings, both incredibly talented. Just letting you know, option years for both of those guys. River Ryan still has all 3 of his option years, so he can very easily be optioned down to the minor leagues. And Gavin Stone still has 2 option years as well, so he can very much move up and down down. Gavin Stone, a little bit curious as to how he's doing and how they're going to utilize him, just with him coming off of shoulder surgery. It's going to be a question mark as to how healthy these guys are, and that's going to perhaps dictate whether the Dodgers feel like they need another innings eater type starter, perhaps early in the season, to take off some of the burden early in the season from some of the starters they want to rely upon in the postseason.
I would agree. So what do you think, or what do you think innings total? I think we're in agreement that their role is fill in when Tyler Glasnow needs a couple weeks off, or Yamamoto or whoever, and they go on an IL stint. I think we agree that's probably their role. Having said that, how many innings do you anticipate for either one of these two?
This is the biggest question. These two are the biggest question because they are coming back from injury. I think I have a little bit more confidence in River Ryan being able to come and fill in some innings for the Dodgers. Gavin Stone, when he's healthy, he absolutely can fill in innings. He would be that type of role. The question is, how healthy is he actually going to be? But I think you could potentially see for each one of these guys being able to find a way to be able to get, I don't know, maybe 40 to 60 innings at the big league level this upcoming season, being able to fill in. Perhaps that's a little bit too low, but I think that's probably around the ballpark of what you're looking for.
How many did you say?
I said around 40 to 60 innings pitched. You're talking about taking over, I don't know, 8 to 10 different starts at the big league level from some of the guys.
A piece?
A piece, yeah.
That'd be disappointing.
It would be disappointing. And we'll go through the math here coming up in a little bit.
Yeah. Ben Casparius, where are we at with him? We're getting a bunch of questions about Ben Casparius.
Yeah.
Overused at the first of the year. I think that actually really kind of hurt him in the second half. Then I think they tried to correct course with that by not pitching him at all in the second half. And then by the time that happened, I think he lost a little bit of feel and touch because he wasn't pitching enough. And then by the time that whole process played itself out, the postseason was here, and there was no time to get Ben Casparius back into the groove. So where do you think we're at with Ben Casparius?
Yeah, I think you said it really well. This is actually the warning sign when talking about utilizing a guy like Justin Robleski, overutilizing him because he can take on a heavy workload. Ben Casparius, exact same way. He immensely talented, somebody who was a starter. The Dodgers kind of converted him into that reliever. That would be my expectation for his role, is he's going to be bullpen depth to be able to add into the mix. And early in the season, especially, let's not forget, Ben Casparius was incredibly effective coming out of the bullpen. And I think going into the season, and I think utilizing a specific role, which they tried to change it up, turn him back into a starter because they needed additional starting pitching. Then they reverted back to a relief pitcher, and he was overutilized at that point, or utilized so frequently. I think having a more consistent role this upcoming season, this past year between the majors and minor leagues, pitched 83 innings pitched. I think you're going to probably see that a little bit closer to between major leagues and minor leagues. Not saying that this is the amount of innings he's going to pitch in LA, but between the two, probably close to 60 to 65, maybe 70. A more consistent type role for Ben Casparius, which I think is actually going to be good for him. It's going to feel like a lot less for him going forward. He still has 2 option years left, so they still have option ability with Ben Casparius. So being able to fight for a roster spot coming out of spring training, and then being able to utilize him more up down, that's especially because I anticipate the Dodgers to sign 1 to 2 free agent starting pitchers that will have to be at the big league roster. That's probably going to be the role that you're going to expect for Ben Casparius. Still immensely talented.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And I think the Dodgers fans, they're fighting. You know, we fight for these guys, and probably too much at times, because we see them and we like them and it's a personal relationship with us. But Dodgers fans that are just stuck on LA and they don't know anything about the minor leagues, which there's not very many of them here at Dodgers Dawgs, but there are some.
Yeah.
Those types of people don't typically fight for the younger guys. They fight for let's go get a freaking free agent. Let's go get the Pete Fairbanks. I totally understood. I totally understand that. Okay. So Ben Casparius is a fun phenomenon for me, because Dodgers fans who don't know anything about the minor leagues fight for Ben Casparius. And I think number one is they understand the unfairness of his role last year. He was overexposed at the beginning of last year. And I think they understand when he was of health and he was being used, and when he was healthy and fresh, he was very good last year.
Yeah.
For one, I think they totally understand. This is how smart Dodgers fans are. They understand that, but I think more than anything, they remember him going to Yankee Stadium and the moment not being too big for him, and so they trust him as part of the dynasty piece. They don't think the moment is too big for Ben Casparius to be part of the dynasty, if that makes sense.
Boy, am I proud of this kid and the progress that he has made to get to this specific point. Ben Casparius has really turned around his career for himself and really made a statement.
He absolutely has. So, where are we headed next?
All right, let's talk about two guys, a little bit more flamethrowers coming out of the bullpen, and then we can address the rest of the guys kind of a little bit more as a whole before we get into the math of some of the innings pitched. Let's talk about Edgardo Henriquez, and let's talk about Kyle Hurt, because these two guys...
Which one are we going first?
That's going to be up to you. I'll let you decide which one that you want to address first. Right? Edgardo Henriquez and Kyle Hurt are two phenomenal guys coming out of the bullpen. Both guys that still have a lot of team control, still have plenty of option years ahead of them. So with Edgardo Henriquez, still has 2 option years. Same thing with Kyle Hurt, still have plenty of optionability. But boy, are these guys talented, and they are ready to make their statement at the MLB level.
They are. So what do you see for a role for Edgardo Henriquez? Of course, I'll say this. Here's what I'm going to say about Edgardo Henriquez. If the execution piece gets figured out, like in spring training, he's going to be one of the major factors on the back end of the Dodgers bullpen in a discussion because his stuff is insane. It's ridiculous. It's as good as anybody, especially now that you can't go get Emmanuel Clase, right? It's as good as anybody that you could go get on the free agent market. Now, we're just talking about raw stuff. We're not talking about how good of a pitcher he is. So if the Dodgers feel like he has figured out the execution piece, that's all going to determine how big of a role that he has. Because I think the second that they really, truly are completely bought in that he has the execution part of it down, they will give him a lot of innings and a huge role. So we say this very prematurely because this is going to be all up to Edgardo and how he proves how well he can execute.
Yeah, that is you nailed it on the head. If Edgardo is executing to a great degree, I would bet on Edgardo Henriquez. And the Dodgers are going to, because his arm is that special. The velo, you do not get to see that velo too terribly often with what he has and what he is able to do with the baseball. There's a reason why in 2024 he flew up all levels of the minor league system and ended up pitching in the postseason for the Los Angeles Dodgers, because the arm is that special. It all comes down to execution for Edgardo. So if Edgardo is able to execute, especially early out of spring training, they're going to utilize him early and often, and he's going to be a high leverage arm for the Dodgers. It's all about execution for Edgardo, which means he, as much as anybody, has control of his own destiny for the Dodgers going forward because of the uniqueness and specialness that is Edgardo's arm. They still have 2 years where they can work and develop him at the minor league level. Yes. So that's probably going to be what they're going to do, depending on where his execution is, and knowing that the Dodgers are going to need guys to come up and down throughout the system. But boy, if he goes out there and is dotting fastballs and getting a ton of swing and miss on his slider, Edgardo could be unhittable, and he could make out a role for himself just because of how special he is. I'm curious to see what his execution level is in spring training. He's one of the main guys to watch out for.
I don't mean to pick on you here, but the people do this all the time. His changeup is insane. Yeah. Edgardo Henriquez has an incredible changeup. So really a 3-pitch pitcher. I mean, he was a former starter, former catcher, all that. So at only Dodgers Dogs would you get this question. This is just how elite our conversation is here. Yeah. Okay, we have a question for both you and I. Yep. How far ahead is Edgardo Henriquez over Ronaldo Yin? Ronaldo Yin and Edgardo Henriquez have both reached 105. Very similar sliders, very similar, just ridiculous changeups. Okay, I'll say way ahead of Ronaldo Yin, because Ronaldo Yin has just not at all figured out the execution piece. Can you bring up real quick, Ronaldo Yeen statistics and kind of go through some of his walk percentage numbers and his strike percentages or any of the metrics that just kind of show how far he has to go with the execution part of pitching.
Yeah, and this is not to pick on Ronaldo because Ronaldo, similar to Edgardo, has so much. The talent is off the charts. Ronaldo Yeen can hit 105. You can't do that for most human arms, which is why there's a ton of excitement for Ronaldo. The execution of hitting 105 is not always consistent. He's usually more consistently, at least with the stadium radar guards, around 99, 100, 101 typically is where Ronaldo is at. But it's not just it's not the consistency of the high velo. It's also the consistency of being able to throw strikes. That's the biggest thing with Ronaldo, and being able to find a way to have a ton of success, because he this past season he walked more hitters than he struck out. It was a 25.7 walk percentage for Ronaldo Yeen on the season, which shows that there's just a lot of room to be able to grow. And I think this has to do with the organization, especially wanting Ronaldo to hit the more high velo type totals, which I think if he was throwing
they want him to max out.
I think he was closer to 96, 97, 98. He would be able to be a much more consistent pitcher. But the Dodgers don't want a 96, 97, 98. They want a special arm. They want the 102, 103, 104, because that type of pitcher can get the best hitters in the game of baseball out. And trying to find a way to be able to, for him to be able to execute with that type of velo still remains a challenge for Ronaldo Yeen. He's very much a development process, but he's still this past year was his age 21 season. He's going to be entering his age 22 season. Don't give up on Ronaldo Yeen quite yet, but still a lot more for him to be able to grow before he's anywhere close to the big league level. I would probably anticipate him still repeating the level at Great Lakes this upcoming season and continuing to work on the execution piece for him. Off the charts type of talent, but that consistency, that execution still has a long ways to go.
Tomatley has a great comment between him and Gardo and Ronaldo. Yes, they can both hit 104, 105, but Gardo hits above 100 on a more consistent basis, and that's an execution thing more than it is a physical thing, because Ronaldo Yeen goes through periods where he can't control it, and so he's having to intentionally throttle back just to be able to throw strikes, where Edgardo Henriquez can throw harder in the strike zone more consistently than Ronaldo Yeen, quite substantially at this point. So if you had to compare those two, Edgardo Henriquez is way ahead of Ronaldo Yeen at this point.
Yep, and still, process and development is not always linear. It's not going to be the same for each one of these guys. It's not to say that Ronaldo Yeen will not become Edgardo Henriquez. He has the talent to be able to come to that. The development process is a long way to go for him, though. But we could see him skyrocket through the minor leagues if he finds a way to be able to execute this upcoming season. I'm excited to see Ronaldo in 2026. Similar to I'm excited to see Kyle Hurt. Being able to come back to the major leagues and find a role for him, because when he was last at the big league level, there was so much excitement for Kyle Hurt. What are our expectations for Kyle Hurt going into this upcoming season, and what type of role do we think Kyle Hurt's going to have?
I think he's another guy that's going to have to rely on injuries. I think he's the Gavin Stone, River Ryan role, to where he doesn't have a path to the major league roster unless somebody gets injured and opens a path for him.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you, and this is not to.
That's not a knock to Kyle. That's a compliment to the Dodgers, just how much talent they have. This goes back to the Blake Trinan deal. Okay, do you want Blake Trinan or do you want Kyle Hurt? Very similar type profiles, very similar type power arms. Probably the sweeper's a little bit better for Blake Trinan, probably the fastball's a little bit better for Kyle Hurt and change up and that kind of deal. But that's kind of who you'd replace him with if you don't have Blake Trinan, to be Kyle Hurt instead. So that goes back to do you want the experience and the carrying tool of the sweeper of Blake Trinan, or do you want the explosiveness and of the young, but yet, I mean, you got to realize he only has 8 major league innings of experience. That's it. So that's kind of where you go there, and it's interesting to me that I think there are some Dodgers fans that would prefer Kyle Hurt over Blake Trinan, and I think that's a step in the right direction.
It is a step in you look for the talent and you look for the guys that are fighting and earning a spot onto the roster.
Hold on, yes, he did get his velo back. I'm sorry. We have a question here from Christopher Navarro. He made it to the end of the season. There was some talk he might even make the postseason roster, and yes, he did get his velo back. So sorry, Oscar.
With Kyle Hurt. I would probably anticipate that being his role for him, and I don't think this is a deserved thing for Kyle, because I think he has earned, based on the success that he has at the minor league level, to earn a spot on a consistent role at the major league level. But I think with him, and it's a little bit of a different situation than you compared Kyle Hurt and Blake Trinan, similar to how you compared Anthony Banda and Justin Robleski.
Yes.
What makes this a little bit difficult is they have more time with Kyle Hurt. He still has 2 option years that that he can utilize over the course of during his tenure with the Dodgers, which means they have a little bit more time. Which means they have a little bit more time to be able to work on him, and especially with him coming back from injury. I mean, he had 9 innings pitched for Oklahoma City this past season. Perhaps they want to see him just get a little bit more used to pitching again at the big league level, or pitching again coming off of injury, I should say. Although I don't anticipate that being as much of a concern over guys like a River Ryan and a Gavin Stone. But again, one of these guys that they can utilize up and down, and perhaps could be fighting to earn a spot onto the roster, especially if there are injuries or they want to stagger some innings. I think you're going to see Kyle Hurt a lot at the big league level because of how much talent he actually has.
I agree. It's not a Kyle Hurt thing. It's a Dodgers thing. I mean, it's like, it's okay. Well, where is the path for him? Just do math, right? I mean, no matter how good a Kyle Hurt is, if there's 13 spots and 16 guys, right? I mean, that kind of deal. So where are we headed next? I know we have a question about Bobby Miller. Are we there yet?
Yeah. So what we're going to do right now is we're just going to go through the rest of the guys that are part of this mix. And this is not going to include guys that would be on the major league roster if they were already part of the major league roster. But again, optional guys that are currently part of the 40-man Dodgers roster. So
how fast are you going to go? Is it worth it for me to pull up video of them or not?
We're just going to talk about some of these guys in group, and then because it's going to be a group, I believe, of 5 different guys. So it includes.
I won't worry about video then.
Yeah, it includes Landon Neck, it includes Paul Gervais, World Series hero Will Klein, Ronan Kopp, and Bobby Miller. What are our expectations for these guys?
I think it's their depth.
Yep.
Their depth. I mean, they have their opportunities are not in their hands. They could go out and have a 0.00 ERA at Oklahoma City, and it's still not going to be up to how they do. It's going to be up to what's available at the major league level.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So let's talk just briefly about.
Yep. We just froze up. We've been doing that just about every show
in the Dodgers organization, just because of the role that they have, and because you look at the starters. How is Landon Neck able to fit into some sort of mix? Now with Landon Neck, a lot of people are going to look at the numbers that he had this past season, which do not look pretty on paper, and they aren't necessarily the prettiest. But if you can take into context the Pacific Coast League environment and looking at his FIP and xFIP, they were just slightly below league average this past season in the Pacific Coast League. Still not great for Landon Neck.
I saw all of his outings. I'm not going to make an excuse for Landon. He just wasn't good.
And I'm not trying to say that he wasn't good this past season. What I'm trying to say is a lot of people look at that and immediately say he was absolutely horrible, terrible, but they forget about how difficult it is to pitch in the Pacific Coast League. With Landon Neck, this is also somebody who, when he has pitched at the big league level for the Dodgers, had been somebody that had been reliable. Let's not forget his 2024 ERA for the Dodgers was 3.65. He can be somebody that can go in and fill in some innings for the Dodgers as needed throughout the course of the season, similar to a River Ryan and Gavin Stone being able to fill in innings for starters. He might not be at the front of the list for options, especially for Dodgers fans, but I think this upcoming season, with him having another option year available for the Dodgers as being somebody who has been reliable or been able to just go out there and get some innings for the Dodgers, he's going to play some sort of role. It might not be the prettiest, it might not be the best role for most of these guys, but I think he's going to play a very important role for the Dodgers going into 2026. And then you mentioned some of the other guys that are part of the mix. Paul Gervais, they're going to continue to see what they have with him. They got him over in the trade. The swing and miss stuff was really good when he was outside the Dodgers organization. Talking about option years for Paul Gervais, he still has 2 option years, so they still have some time to work on with him. Other guys that are part of the mix and rotation for the Dodgers, Will Klein. Will Klein only has 1 more option year remaining, which means they can send him down to Oklahoma City just this past year. I know, obviously, everybody's going to point to what he did in the World Series. Phenomenal for Will Klein, what he was able to do. And I don't think people understand how good he was for Oklahoma City during his tenure with them at the minor league level, because holy cow, that was good. You look at the ERA, 5.16, that doesn't blow you away. That was above league average in the Pacific Coast League, but a 3.61 FIP and a 3.20 expected FIP, phenomenal. And then you look at the strikeout percentage, 42.7% for Will Klein in Oklahoma City with a 15.6 swinging strike percentage. He put up some really good numbers in Oklahoma City. They can utilize him up, down just one more time, but I think they want to keep him part of this organization because of not just what they saw in the World Series, which was phenomenal. That is the greatest performance that he's ever going to have in his entire life, but also because of what he did in Oklahoma City. Final 2 guys, Roden Kopp just recently added. I think there still are things that they want to work on with him, but with the limited left-handed optionable depth, that being just a Robleski and a Jack Dreyer, they need somebody like a Roden Kopp.
Hold on a second, Austin. Are you hearing that?
In the background a little bit. It's not extensive, but it's very faint with it.
I don't know where that's coming from.
I don't know where it's coming from as well. But I'll just continue to talk over it unless you continue to work on that. Roden Kopp just recently added to the mix for the Dodgers, and he's going to spend probably a lot of time in Oklahoma City. And then Bobby Miller still remains a mystery for the Dodgers being able to try to work with him and try to get him back to some sort of place. Probably expect a bullpen role for him, but probably not a major player going into the 2026 season unless he shows a lot in spring training and probably early in the season. Bobby Miller still, according to Fangraphs, still they say he has 2 option years. I would think that he would probably only have 1 just based off of the math that I've done, but it's either 2 or 1 option years. They're running out of time with Bobby Miller.
Any chance that we have a question here, Roden Kopp or Jose Rodriguez, any chance they play a role?
Again, they would probably be a little bit more depth pieces. With Jose Rodriguez, with Tebow, it's going to be a question mark as to whether or not he's taken in the Rule 5 draft, which will take place on the 10th of December. He's he's a really good option for other organizations. And I actually root for Jose Rodriguez to get taken in the Rule 5 draft because that means that he gets a big league opportunity probably sooner than what he would in the Dodgers organization. I think they very well could play some sort of role because with Tebow, with Jose Rodriguez, if they don't want to lose him in free agency, perhaps they pick him up towards the end of the season and have him pitch late in the season. But with them, it's going to be probably more minimal roles unless they force their way onto the roster or injury presents opportunity, which is going to be something that happens in the season.
We have a question about Landon Knack about his conditioning. I can tell you Landon lost about 15 to 20 pounds last year, and he looked really, really good. So his conditioning last year actually was real good. He's a real high-effort guy, though. I mean, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. So I think you're probably seeing more just an emotional outburst from him than you are somebody who's actually gassed and out of wind because he came into last year in better shape than he ever had been. And, yeah, Bobby Miller is an enigma. It drives you nuts. We'll see. And don't forget, Landon Knack had the good outing there at the end of the season with Los Angeles, and he finished pretty good. So he did finish with at least some momentum. So where are we headed now before we wrap this up, Austin?
All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go through a little bit of fun exercise. So what I want you guys to do is the people here, Dodgers Dawgs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. And I think we got to make sure that we have, I don't know if we have our cameras or our pictures up on the actual screen. That might be something that we want to do first before we go ahead and do that.
I just flipped it over. I've been bad about that tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just saw that on my screen. What we're going to do right now, I want you guys to go out and get your own calculators out. Just a little bit of a math time. What we're going to do is going to go through a fun exercise of mapping out innings pitched. And this is going to show potentially what the need could be for the Dodgers, and especially with how much time that you want to invest in some of the young arms, like a Kyle Hurt, like a River Ryan, like a Gavin Stone, like a Justin Robleski, Jack Dreyer, Ben Casparius, all these different guys. What we're going to do, Casey and I, are going to go back and forth. We're going to talk innings pitched at the major league level, not during the postseason, but during the regular season, because there are 1,450 innings pitched that you have to get throughout the course of the regular season for the Dodgers.
Roughly,
we're going to go through each one of these guys on the roster, give them a certain number of innings pitched for the Dodgers in 2026. We will also have slots for free agent relief pitcher, free agent starting pitcher, and what I'm going to call DFA pitchers. These are guys that can pop up throughout the course of the season. If you need two innings here, we need if we need like a Noah Davis, or guys that we've seen happen a lot of times for the Dodgers, where they need a couple innings here, couple innings there.
Supposed to be Brett Honeywell, but he pitched so well that he pitched himself into a bigger role.
Absolutely, yeah, the turtleneck guy was part of this mix. We're gonna have a slot open for there. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through each one of the players on the roster. We're gonna give another innings pitch, and then I'm gonna reveal how many innings pitched we have mapped out, just to show you how difficult this map could potentially be for the Dodgers, or if the Dodgers need some additional innings, how this could go ahead and map out. So what we're going to do, I will give you the player. I will also give you the past 3 years, how many innings pitched they pitched either at the minor leagues, major leagues, or postseason. So how
you want me to do this and put it on a Google Doc and show it on the board, or how do you want me to do this?
No, I'm going to do the math on my own. So we're going to go back and forth, and we're just going to give a certain number of innings pitched. And the Dodgers fans, you can participate as well. So for example, we're going to start off with a bunch of starters. So we're going to start out with Tyler Glasnow. Tyler Glasnow, I'm going to give you the past 3 innings pitched. Again, minor leagues, major leagues, not including rehab. So minor leagues, major leagues, and postseason. So the past 3 seasons, Tyler Glasnow has pitched 125, 134, and 111.2 innings pitched. In 2026, how many innings pitched do you have mapped out for Tyler Glasnow?
130.
130. All right, I'm gonna go a little bit lighter for Tyler Glasnow. Let me go about 120.
You're way better at this stuff than I do. So let's just go with what you think here, because I'm not good at this kind of stuff.
Oh, we're going to go back and forth with this. Let's talk a little bit about Shohei Ohtani. So obviously 2024.
100 innings.
100. Okay, let's go for 100 innings with Shohei Ohtani. I'll go ahead and do that too. Emmett Sheehan, past 3 years, 123, missed a full season, pitched 100 last year. How many do we think for Emmett Sheehan?
120.
120.
Let's go 120 with Ohtani.
Okay, let's go 120 with Ohtani. I'll go 100 with Ohtani, and then I'll go about 125 for Emmett Sheehan. Blake Snell, 180.
Because I think Ohtani's going to have some games where he goes like 8 innings.
Sure. You know? Yeah, absolutely. Blake Snell, past 3 years, 180, 104, and 95. What do we think for innings pitched for Blake Snell this upcoming year?
153.
153, going a little bit.
Price is right. I'm not rounding it up.
Okay, I'm going to go 1 over, 154 for me for Blake Snell. Yoshi Yamamoto has been a bit of a workhorse. In Japan, he pitched 164 in 2023. In 2024, it was about 108.2. Last year, he pitched 211 innings last year. How much this upcoming year for Yoshi Yamamoto?
130.
130. Okay, so you're expecting a bit
put me down for 100 with Ohtani. I'm going to go with my. I know better than to go against my gut.
All right, so Yoshi Yamamoto, you say 130. I'm going to say that he's going to go out there and be a little bit more of a workload. I'm going to go 150 for Yoshi Yamamoto.
That's not too big.
All right, again,
a couple starts.
Major league level, Landon Knack. How many innings do we see for Landon Knack this upcoming year?
30.
30. Okay, I'm going to probably go about 25. Similar vein for him. River Ryan.
40.
40. Okay, I'll go 50 for River Ryan. I would say they'll give him a little bit. Roki Sasaki.
Roki Sasaki. He's going to start. I'm going to go about 85, 90.
85, 90. We'll go ahead and give you 90. That's probably around right. What I see for Roki Sasaki, 91, 111, and 67.2 for Roki Sasaki the past 3 years. Gavin Stone, how many innings do we see for him?
I'm going to say 60 to 80, somewhere in there.
Okay, we'll go split a different 70. I will go Let's go 50 for him also. Same for Ryan as for Gavin Stone. Justin Robleski, past 3 years, 102, 132, 123. Well, remember, Justin Robleski could very well be more of a bullpen type guy.
I'm going to go 80.
80?
Because I think he's going to get some spot starts whenever some of the guys go on the IL.
Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit less. I'm gonna go 60 for him. Just a little bit. All right, Anthony Banda. This is when we get to some of the bullpen pieces. Past 3 seasons for Anthony Banda, 72, 74, and 70. Again, major league, minor league, and during the postseason innings pitched. 72, 74, and 70 is what his innings are like. What do you expect Anthony Banda in a Dodgers uniform during the regular season next year to be?
Probably 50 to 60.
50 to 60. That means about 55. I'll go a little bit on the lighter end. I'll go 35, only because I think they might have to make a decision with Anthony Banda this upcoming year. Tanner Scott, past 3 seasons, 79, 76, and 57.
Whatever a good amount is for a high leverage reliever, what would that be?
That would probably
80, 90?
be not quite that much. It would probably be a little bit closer to a 65-ish is probably what you're going to look for.
Yeah,
so
then throw me down around 35, 40 for Banda then.
Okay, let's go view 40 for Banda. All right, Blake Trinan, past 2 years, 2, 59, and 32 inning pitch. How many do you anticipate this upcoming year for Blake Trinan?
Boy, that you talk about the ultimate, who knows?
Yeah.
30?
Okay, we'll give 30. I think that's probably right.
By the way, yes, we are going to have a show Sunday night.
Okay, sweet. You're going to have a show Sunday night. Sweet. Yeah. Alex Vesia. What do we anticipate for Alex Vesia? He's been around at least combined between 65 to 70, but probably closer to 60 during the course of the regular season if you exclude postseason.
I'm going to go 45, 50 just because I think they'll load manage him because he has been a workhorse for them. And I think they've done that in the past. So I'm going to go 45, 50.
I'll go 55 for Alex Vesia. Okay. Let's go with Brusdar Graterol. Brusdar Graterol, 70 in 2023, 19 in 2024. Did not see him at all in 2025. What can we expect for Brusdar Graterol?
55, 60. I think he's healthy.
Okay, so you think that he's healthy?
I think he was healthy at the end of last year. They just didn't have time to get him back.
Okay, so then you would anticipate him being on the roster for the start of the season. Okay, so then that potentially that might mean that the Dodgers only bring in 1 free agent relief pitcher, which could still open up 4 different spots for 3 different spots, I think, for guys. But if you add in 2 free agent pitchers with Brusdar Graterol being healthy at part of the mix, that only leaves room for 2 different guys to be able to come on. So you think 55 innings for Brusdar?
I think so. I think he's ready for that. I think he's going to be healthy enough for that.
Okay, I'll be a little bit more pessimistic. I'll say around 30 innings, even though I truly hope that Brusdar is healthy, ready to go. Brock Stewart, what do we anticipate for Brock Stewart? Do we map out any innings for him?
40. Although I could see him getting up around the 60 range because he gets some garbage buckets, if you would.
Okay, so you say 40?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will be a little bit more pessimistic. I'll say around 20, just because I have no idea what to expect with Brock Stewart and when he's able to come back.
I can tell you this: they're expecting him to be good.
I'm not disagreeing with that. It all comes down to when is he actually healthy to be able to fit into the mix. Ben Casparius, how many innings do we map out for Ben Casparius at the MLB level this upcoming season? Not at the minor league level, but at the major league level.
30.
30? Yeah, I think that's probably about right for Ben Casparius. Jack Dreyer, major league level innings. How many do we map out for him?
I'm going 30, 40
30?
Maybe.
I'll go about
40.
I'll go about 35, only because, again, if you talked about earlier in the show, I think they're going to try to keep him a little bit more at the minor league level, only because, again, past 3 seasons, minor leagues and major leagues for Jack Dreyer, 55, 57, and then 80 this past season.
When does Brock Stewart become a free agent? The Dodgers have him for a couple more years,
They have for 2 more years.
Yes.
They have him for 2 more years. Paul Gervais, how many innings do we expect at the major league level for Paul Gervais?
10.
I will put it at about 5 for Paul Gervais, though I could see it probably be more about 10. Edgardo Henriquez, how many innings do we see for him?
Again, if he executes, you could see 70. If he doesn't execute, you could see 25. There's
right,
just
so how
so
many
much
you guessing?
variability. I'm going to say 40 just to meet it in the middle. 40. And again, Casparius is the same way. If he comes back fresh, and Tim Motley's correct here, if Casparius comes back fresh, he could throw more than any of these guys because he's so versatile in his role.
Yeah. I think I will go about 35 for Edgardo Henriquez. Kyle Hurts, obviously been injured the past 3 seasons. How many major league innings do you anticipate for Kyle Hurts?
20?
20? Yeah, let's go about 30 for Kyle Hurts. Let's give him a little bit more. Will Klein, World Series hero. How many innings do we see for Will Klein?
20. Yeah.
20? Let's see. Let's give him a little bit extra for me. Let's give him about 30 for Will Klein, just because of what he did. Ronan Kopp. Do we expect Ronan Kopp to make his big league debut in 2026?
I think he'll throw 5, 6 innings this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about 5 probably is correct. Bobby Miller. How many do we anticipate for Bobby Miller?
I think probably about 10. And then if he's good, way more than that.
Yeah, I think about 10 is probably accurate. So now we get into the 3 bonus categories. This is the fun categories. This is the surprise boxes that you get. Free agent relief pitchers. And this could include a Devin Williams. This could include a Edwin Diaz. This could include a whole sorts of different free agent relief pitchers that the Dodgers could and probably are likely to bring in. Of the free agent relief pitchers, we're just going to talk about offseason, which either includes 1 or 2 guys that they bring in from free agency. How many innings do you think these relief pitchers are going to pitch?
80.
80 innings. I think that is probably pretty accurate. I'm going to go just because I think it is my guess is what the Dodgers do are probably going to bring in 2 different guys. I think they're going to probably bring in a guy that's going to be ultra reliable and bring in a little bit more of a wild card type of option, but still a good, reliable type of guy. We've talked in the past about Pete Fairbanks or a guy like a Hunter Harvey or somebody that is really good that can be able to add to the mix and get right-handed relievers out. I'll go about 90 for this avenue as well.
We've been pretty close on most of them.
Yeah, and this is a good exercise to be able to do. We're going to do an extra category, free agent starting pitchers. This is not a do you think the Dodgers should bring in a free agent starting pitcher, but if during the course of the offseason, which if you look at the history of the Los Angeles Dodgers, they typically go out and bring in free agent starting pitchers. Do you anticipate them to bring in a starting pitcher? And if so, how many innings does that pitcher go up and eat up?
Well, I'll say this. It's going to be Tarek Skubal or nobody. And if it's Tarek Skubal, what is that going to be, 130,
so that would be by trade. That would be via trade to be able to bring in a Tarek Skubal.
I don't think they're going to do the free agent thing. I think the only way that it's going to make sense for the Dodgers is if they can find a trade situation that they just can't turn down.
Okay, so then free agents because
for a starting pitcher.
Sure, because it's free agents, I'm going to go ahead and put that at 0. Only because if you bring in somebody like a Tarek Skubal, that's likely to eat into some of the innings of somebody like a Roki Sasaki
100%.
Being able to fit into that mix,
or whoever they trade for, and they may trade for Emmett Sheehan, somebody like that.
Somebody like that, you very well could see some of their innings fit into some of the mix.
Makes this hard.
I will go ahead and just. I'm debating between throwing some innings out there just because I know the history of the Dodgers and they typically go out there and throw some innings into the mix. I will go ahead and throw 30 innings let's go ahead and throw 40 innings for a
free agent starter.
I think they are going to bring in some sort of starter.
Well, if they go get a free agent starter, it's going to be a stud. And that stud's going to throw about 150 innings.
Well, we've seen the Dodgers and free agents past bringing in some of the guys like a Noah Syndergaard or like a Tyler Anderson or Andrew Guinea.
Not even close.
What I'm saying is, especially with the workload that some of these pitchers, the starters that they had go on, if they want to backload some of their innings, let's say for
that's where you dip into River Ryan, Gavin Stone, Kyle Hurt, Justin Robleski.
This is the thing is how healthy are they going to be to start the season could be a question mark for the Dodgers, and they could panic a little bit and go to some of the other guys. So
if they're going to get a free agent starter, it's going to be a stud. If they go free agent, if they go get a starter, period, whether it be free agent or trade, I just don't see them going and just getting a guy. They're going to go get an elite dude that they just couldn't turn down. It's like, I don't need that, but it's such a good deal, I can't turn it down. It's going to be that type, in my opinion.
Okay.
I've been wrong many times before, but
you know what? You convinced me. I'll drop mine to 0. That'll be just for you. Just because.
And by the way, keep this written down so next November we can look back and see just how stupid we are.
Oh, yeah, I've got this in my spreadsheet right now. We're actually going to do one additional category, one category that we didn't initially advertise. This is a present for you, all of you, the day after Thanksgiving present. Nice. We're going to talk about MiLB pitchers that are part of the Dodgers organization that are not currently part of the 40-man roster. How many of these guys? How many innings do some of these guys that are not a part of the 40-man roster but make their debuts? How many innings do the Dodgers set aside for them?
Less than 20. Because I don't even know who they'd be. I mean, maybe Jackson Ferris if Jared Karros is healthy again. Jose Rodriguez. Boy, beyond that, I don't know who they'd be.
Okay, so you say maybe about 15 innings?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll go about 20, just because I think there could be some surprises that you could seize for some of these guys. All right, so we get to the last category, and this is the overall pool of designatable pitchers that are part of the mix. This is guys like you had mentioned, like a Noah Davis, guys that the Dodgers can go ahead and throw in and pitch innings as needed. I think we often think this isn't going to be a whole lot of innings, but at the end of the year, it ends up being quite a bit of pitchers that they add into the mix. And this includes guys that could come into and be part of the Dodgers organization that turn out to be something like an Anthony Banda. Anthony Banda was initially part of this mix, but he ended up being somebody that was really good for the Dodgers, and they kept him around, and just still have kept him around to this point. So how many innings do you expect from guys that they plan on designating for assignment at some point?
I say 0 because they already have 6 starters.
All right, so you say they're not going to get any innings from guys that they're just going to throw into the mix.
They already have 6 in the years they've done that. They only had 5 starters. Then those guys got hurt, and I also think they're going to get 2 bullpen guys. I don't think you can make the claim that the Dodgers have 6 starters like we've talked about tonight. Mm-hmm. They're going to go get 2 bullpen arms like you said tonight. And then also say they're going to go get a DFA type guy. Well,
this is not to start the season. This is throughout the course of 162.
But if you go get 2 bullpen guys and you already have 6 starters, even if you have 2 or 3 guys go down, you already have River Ryan, you already have Gavin Stone, you already have Kyle Hurt, you already have Justin Robleski and Jack Dreyer. Those are 5 really damn good pitchers that you need to find roles for. I don't think I mentioned Gavin Stone, did I?
So I don't remember if you did or not.
So I think the Dodgers are in a position to use those guys instead of the Noah Davises or the Brett Honeywells and going and getting a DFA guy. I think they will be more likely to pitch River Ryan and Gavin Stone and Justin Robleski and Jack Dreyer and Kyle Hurt than they will be Noah Davis.
All right, I think they are more likely to be able to do that. I think you might be at least that might be a little bit more of an optimistic type take with that, because that's assuming that there's not a whole lot of injuries that take place throughout the course of the season, which are completely unpredictable.
It would take a lot of injuries. What I'm saying is they're going to have to go through those guys before they're not going to choose a DFA guy over River Ryan or over Gavin Stone or over They're going to choose those guys first, and then if they still burn through all that with injuries, you're pretty desperate at that point to go get a DFA guy.
Yes, what I will say to push back on that is with some of the guys that can be optioned up and down, you have a limited amount of times in which you can option those guys up and down from the minor leagues to the major leagues. And I believe it's 5 different times that you can option a pitcher from the major leagues to the minor leagues.
So 6 different guys season. We've talked about. That's 30 in total. That's a lot.
They have a lot of guys. But they also utilize those options quite a bit. The Dodgers transaction page happens quite a bit. And I think there's going to be some spurts throughout the course of the season where they don't want to utilize 3 options up and down in the course of a month and a half. I think they want to kind of spread them out because they know that they're going to need innings and to fill in innings throughout the course of the season, to where you're going to see some of these guys that you don't anticipate sneak into the mix. I believe this past season we saw I don't know, 40 different pitchers pitched for the Los Angeles Dodgers this past season. I would anticipate there still being some guys fit into the mix, even though I have no idea where they're going to fit in. I know the other guys deserve more opportunities, and I hope that the other guys get more opportunities. I'm still anticipating there being. I'm going to go a little bit big only because I've seen a little bit of some of the math play out with some of this. I'm going to put 30 innings with some DFA guys.
Wow.
It builds up.
Don't tell Gavin Stone you said that. Damn.
I think some of these opportunities are going to come up, and that actually might be putting it a little bit on the small end of things. Wow. So, okay, let's go ahead and see how we did. So again, the point of this exercise was to get through the course of the regular season. How do the Dodgers do with the roster that they currently have, as well as some potential external options that are likely to be part of the mix? And Casey and I went through the innings pitch of 2026 mapping out, and this included, let's actually get your thoughts overall. Right now, what do you feel like with especially some of the guys that you want to see develop? Do you feel like you gave them enough innings? Do you feel like there's a lot more room to be able to grow for some of these guys? Or do you feel like I might have been a little bit more conservative on some of this mix?
I'm going to make this statement. You didn't give them near enough innings because you just gave 30 innings to a DFA guy that's not near as good as any of those guys. I'll say that, right? Okay. I'm pissed at you, Brubaker, for doing that. Okay. No, I think it's always light on the young guys trying to get opportunity because the ball's not in their court. It relies always on, does Tyler Glass now need a couple weeks to go on the IL, that kind of deal. So it's always going to be light for the Kyle Hurts, at least whenever you're mapping it out to begin with. It never seems like it ends up that way. But whenever you're looking at it at the beginning of the year for the Dodgers, it always seems like those roles are going to be too light for the young guys.
Yep, and that is what it kind of feels like for me. A lot of the young guys not getting quite as much opportunities as you would like them to. I would like to give more innings to some of these guys. This is how the results fare out for each one of these guys, and we actually did pretty well with this. Again, the goal is 1,450 innings pitched. We were within 1 inning pitch of each other. Wow. You were actually closer to the total. You were at 1,478 innings pitched, which means that as conservative as you were, as limiting as some of you were to giving some innings to some of these guys, you still went over by 28 innings pitched. You did. I went over by 29 innings pitched, and so perhaps I could throw out all the DFA guys and get you that total of what I was looking for.
I need some extra innings in, damn it.
you might need a little bit of extra innings, but what this is intended to be able to show you guys is how limited it is to be able to get to some of the innings that you have, and this includes just 50 innings for River Ryan and Gavin Stone. That's 10 starts of 5 innings for each one of those guys, and that's all that they're able to contribute at the major league level this upcoming season. This includes limited roles for Blake Trinan, assuming that there's some type of injury. This includes only 30 innings for Ben Casparius, only around 30 innings for Jack Dreyer. This includes a limited role for an Edgardo Henriquez or a lot of these different guys that are part of the mix. Only 90 innings for Roki Sasaki, 130 for you for Yoshi Yamamoto, 150 for me for Yoshi Yamamoto. This includes limited pitching for the starters, and you're still having struggle being able to find innings to pitch for the guys on the roster. This is not how it's going to map out throughout the course of the regular season. We're obviously going to be wrong because there are unpredictable things that pop up throughout the course of the regular season.
Yeah, but nobody could do this to be accurate, not even Andrew Friedman.
No, Andrew Friedman can't do this to be accurate, but this is to show you some of the target, some of the goals. And if you look at the roster where the Dodgers are right now, especially if they add a relief pitcher or two, I think they're in pretty good shape to be able to cover a lot of these innings, assuming some of the guys that are injured, like a River Ryan and Gavin Stone, can help fill innings for the starter throughout the course of the season. And I think they're going to be in pretty good shape.
How many? The last question of the night here, because I'm getting pretty sleepy. I'm getting old, right? Okay. How many innings did the sacrificial roster spot, meaning the DFA guys, pitch last inning? Do you know that?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
The Noah Davises, those kind of guys.
You know what? I will go through the math to be able to do that because I had actually calculated that for, I believe, 2021 through 2024. I don't have them with me right now, and I think I had initially done it for 2025. I think if I remember correctly with that innings pitch, it is ranged somewhere between, for the Los Angeles Dodgers, within the 40 to 60, sometimes 80s innings pitch type of range, just because they need to fill in guys. And this is going into the season, unexpected guys that are able to fit into the mix. It includes like a Ryan Brazier, fit that type of role that you could potentially see in 2026. Remember, Ryan Brazier had a really good, I believe it was 2023 for the Los Angeles Dodgers, when he was expected to be that type of guy. I think it is more than what you're anticipating, designated for assignments type guys, that type of role. It actually fills in a fair amount of innings, especially because, man, you just need 2 innings here, and you don't want to use an up down, one of the 5 up downs for guys on the system. Just bringing in a guy, have him pitch however long that you have, and then you can move on for him after that. It is a strategy that the Dodgers do. Not saying that they should, but it is something that they do.
Yep. Okay, man. Any final thoughts here that you might have before we get out of here?
I think the biggest thing that we have is pitching is unpredictable. Yep. And as much as we say,
I think the Dodgers are in a much better position now than they ever have been in the last 5 or 6 years.
They are much healthier going into 2026 than they were in 2025. In 2025, going into the season, there was 5 or 6, 7 guys that were entering the season that you did not anticipate to start the season on the roster, or start the season as somebody who was going to be healthy. The Dodgers are limiting that to being maybe a Brusdar Graterol, although he very well could be healthy to start the season, and probably a Brock Stewart. Ryan, Gavin Stone coming back healthy is what the expectation is, which means that you have a lot of different arms that you can utilize. You can limit some of the DFA arms, but then it becomes, how do you get all of these guys, especially because most of these guys are ready for the MLB level. How do you get these guys to be able to get as many innings as they possibly can to grow their development? And how does the long-term future for the Dodgers look? That brings up arguments like Robo versus Anthony Banda. It brings up a Kyle Hurt versus a Blake Trinan. And the reason why those arguments are brought up is because the Dodgers have a lot of talented arms. And it will be a curious thing on how those position battles play out in 2026.
It will, Austin. Great job tonight. That was a fun exercise. Thanks for bringing that up, man.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a fun one that you can do.
Yeah,
hopefully you guys can do the exact same thing if you disagree with any one of us, which you very well could disagree with any one of us, because just because you guys are smart Dodgers fans. I can't thank you guys enough what you have. I encourage you guys, run through the exact same exercise, bring out your calculator, and do the math on your own to see how close you get.
You Dodgers dogs are the absolute best. It is a great day to be a Dodger.